what's your goal for next year? How many transactions are you trying to do? How many listings are you trying to get out of Espresso Agent?
Right now, I am at 60 transactions residential. My goal every week is to go on 4 appointments and to convert at 50%. If I am doing that consistently, then I will be able to take those 5 listings, at least five closings, I'm thinking, a month, right? Because some of those may take a little longer and some may have some more things that we need to do to actually get the property sold. But that by overshooting that, that should land me where I want to be as far as my goals. So my first trial of that, which was October, I did take 5 listings.
Hi, I'm Noelle with today's Brew, where top producing real estate agents share their tips and tricks on taking more listings, making more money, and having fun doing it. On today's episode, we welcome Norman Hardman from Georgia and Alabama. Hi, Norman. How are you?
Noelle, I'm fine. How about yourself?
I am great. Thanks for coming on today.
Glad to be here.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your market, since you're in 2 places, and what's going on down there.
Sure. So I'm what's known as a Tri-City area. So Columbus is the second largest city in Georgia. And we are across the river from Phoenix City, Alabama. There's a lot of shared workforce, things of that nature between the 2 cities. If you're familiar with being on the lines of Georgia and Alabama, then you'll probably have like twin cities that are similar in those cases. And then we have a military base, which is newly named Fort Moore. So we have a lot of people that actually came through Fort Benning, if you're familiar with Fort Benning. So you may be listening from all over the country and thinking, oh yeah, I know Fort Benning, which has been recently renamed Fort Moore. So we have a ton of people who come through Columbus for whitewater rafting and things of that nature. Auburn, if you are a War Eagle fan, is about an hour away from us. So we have people who pass through all the time to go to some of those football games. And then we're 90 minutes away from Atlanta. So we get tons of spillover from those cities.
You have a lot of attraction to the area for sure. So you have a lot of people moving in, and then military base too. So that's great for all kinds of real estate needs, buying and selling. How long have you been in the business?
Sure. So I was licensed in November of 21, and I started functioning in April of 22 after I got my Alabama and Georgia license.
Okay, so in between the two, what were you doing in between the 2 time frames?
Sure. So my wife was pregnant. We were getting ready for our 3rd child. We have twins who are 6, and we have IJ, who will be 2 in February. So I actually got my Georgia license while we were in the hospital. So we were taking the time to do that. I was also putting my business plan together and my 6-month marketing strategy. So that gave me plenty of time that once I got started, I had enough content to at least go 6 months out.
I mean, no pressure at all to be successful. Babies being born, getting your license all at the same time. That being said, you have to have a plan. And what does your plan consist of? Are you an active prospector?
I am. So I actually came into the world of real estate as a buyer's agent. My background is in finance and banking, and I wanted to make a difference by helping people find a home, place to stay. And as I grew within the business, I grew using my sphere of influence. So I was called on my old banking clients. I called on church members or people being from the Columbus community, which I was born and raised. I call on people that I knew.
Okay.
And so that allowed me to move through the ranks and be able to grow my business. The exciting thing this year was I was able to start prospecting beyond just my sphere of influence by adding a coach and starting to take listings, right? So now I focus on not just home buyers, but I focus on people who want to sell their home. They need some love and they need some support as well, right?
Absolutely.
So as well, jump into that game. And so that's where the switch really turned on for me this year. And so I'm having a lot of fun doing it and having a lot of fun seeing where we can take this.
Oh, 100%. And hopefully it gives you more time with your family, because running around with buyers in the evenings and all weekend long can be challenging to balance it all. And with listings, you're putting in most of the work behind the scenes, right?
That's right. And I I don't mind being honest. I came into this by myself, right? I wasn't using a transaction coordinator. I wasn't using a virtual assistant. So I still was and still I still am moving a lot in terms of what I'm doing. And so there are differences. I still love working with buyers. I do have buyers that I still work with.
Mhm.
And then I still love working with clients who need to list their property, right? So it's just, I don't see one as being better than the other, but I absolutely love being able to just explore real estate. And so adding listings to what I was doing just allows me to explore and grow in the real
Oh,
estate
yeah.
business.
So how are you finding your listings? You use Espresso Agent,
Right.
and we love that. Thank you for choosing us. Walk us through an average day for you. Every day when you get up in the morning, walk us through your morning and your prospecting, your role playing. Just tell us how you get going and what you're doing.
Yeah, that's great. So time blocking has been big for me, very important. So I start my morning at 5 a.m., which is, my time for prayer and just spending time with Norman, right? Before everybody else wakes up in the family. And then fast forwarding through that, my goal is to have everyone out of the house by 8 o'clock. And then for me to be at my station by 8:30.
Okay.
Being at my station by 8:30 gives me the opportunity to start role playing for 30 minutes. I'm a part of two communities that I actively practice role playing Monday through Friday. So
Wow.
I meet with that group at 8:30, and then there is a paid community that I'm a part of, that I actually run the role play sessions on Mondays and Wednesdays,
Okay.
and then we do content on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I start out each morning just practicing the phone calls that I'm going to make. And then there's a break in between that where I check my email, reach out to clients that who may have reached out to me for the morning before I start my calls around 11. And so I give myself about an hour. I know some agents may call more. I know some agents who call three
Hmm.
hours a day. But I just like to really load up my dialer and then focus on what type client I'm going to call for today, right?
Hmm.
Am I going to call on expireds today? Am I going to call on for sale by owners today? Am I going to make sphere of influence calls today? And then grouping those calls allows me to be able to move a lot more efficiently. And then beyond that, now I'm just kind of focusing on whatever else I have to do to get my clients where they need to be, closings, administration. Those are things. So one thing I will tell you, Will, that I'm extremely excited about. I'm in the process now of hiring a VA. So a lot of the administrative work that I'm doing on the back end, I'll be able to hand that off, which means I have more time to prospect, more time to develop those client relationships.
You'll be going from an hour to 2 or 3 hours. But
Absolutely.
it's good to start with a reasonable goal. Some people try to follow everything by the book and do this. It has to be 3 hours. It has to be 3 hours. And then that might actually make them not make the calls because I don't have time for that. So an hour's great. An hour's wonderful. How do you keep a healthy mindset? I know you mentioned prayer in the morning, but throughout the day, if the phone's not being so friendly, how do you handle that?
Yeah. So real estate, I will say, is best done in community. Hence, building community through real estate there. And you get you get to talk about just the highs and lows with people who are maybe in different markets who are going at it the same way that you are. And
Oh, yeah.
that's been one of the largest components that's allowed me to move forward, right? With the people that I'm role playing with, we're actively talking about the objections that we're receiving. We're practicing on each other. How do we respond to these different things? And we just laugh through them, right? We laugh
Mhm.
to the point that you kind of build those emotional calluses on that allow you to be able to not take things personally, still follow up with people, realize that they have their intent, their goal in mind. When
Mhm.
I flip the script and I put myself in the seat of being a client and I receive a phone call, I'm not always wanting to spend my time talking to someone else on the phone, right? And
What?
so
What are you talking about? You know you love it when people call your phone.
right, of course, right? We all do. It's like, "Oh, man, who's this calling?" But I
Mhm.
think about the calls that have really gone well, and it's always the calls that people have provided value, right? things
Mhm.
that are going to save me time, things that are going to allow me to increase my income, my revenue, and ultimately grow my business. And I recently had one of those calls with an insurance guy who they reached out to me, and it was masterful. And I let them know how great of a job they did. Said, "Hey, look, we've been seeing what you're doing. We love the way that you're approaching this, and we have people who are part of our network that we think would be great for you.
Mhm.
We don't make referrals, but we do make connections." But that gave the opportunity for me to say, "Okay, I'm a little curious how can they help me expand my business?" And then in addition to that, they talked about their primary business, which was insurance, and how me adding a policy can help me take down some of my own deals, right? Because
Mhm.
as a player in the business, I also want to play on the field, which
Yeah.
means I'm actually purchasing properties myself, which this year well, prior to, I was taking down properties, but I just purchased my first duplex. So I'm
Wow.
excited about that. And I have acquisition goals for next year so that I can continue to grow in the business. So that made sense. And so I'm just saying that to say, s- spending time, if I'm getting negative feedback or the
Mhm.
same type of feedback, that lets me know that I need to evaluate what it is that I'm doing, and doing that in community with other people will help me to spot those points much faster.
Yeah, and just having the conversation, like you said, it was almost a way of role playing because you got to listen to their sales pitch, and sometimes it works, like you said, for yourself too.
Right.
You had mentioned follow up briefly. What is your follow up when you're making your calls and someone says not interested? How many more times are you going to call
Yeah, as long as they allow me to.
them? Okay, okay.
um, and here's what's given me the confidence to continue to make those phone calls is I go back and I look at the records, and I
Mhm,
notice that a lot of people relist their properties, right? If whether so those would be your expireds, and
mhm,
even a lot of people who are selling their properties directly, they list with an agent. And I said, "Now wait a minute. These people who put on, their high D type personality type people, and they come across all gruff and things like that,
mhm,
but they are really wanting somebody who can provide value." And
mhm.
so for me, it's not just trying to get the appointment or trying to get the sale, but really showing the value that they're looking for. And that may take several follow-up calls. So,
Oh, yeah.
for example, that's also why I group my calls now. So for sale by owners, I get to say, "Hey, you had an open house this weekend," or "How was the activity over the weekend?" And then if they didn't have any activity, then we're able to have that conversation on, "Hey, look, average days on market, we're past that. We're at the point now where a lot of the buyers are expecting some discounts. Let's talk through how we fight against that,
Mhm.
and really make sure that we highlight your property as still being valuable and bringing in the best offer." So I have the opportunity to focus on that on Mondays, and then focus on a different set on Tuesdays, and then same thing on Wednesdays, and then everything else I have some time left over if I need to schedule an appointment on a Thursday or Friday. So that's my plan of attack, is trying to base once a week if appropriate, and then if I need to, do bi-weekly, that makes sense. But it's just building the rapport at the
Mhm.
level that makes sense.
Definitely makes sense. I like the way you do it. I haven't had someone say that they separated each day into a lead group and going FISBO or expired. I just hear a lot of people mix it all together, when they're not receiving well on one side, then they switch to the next when they're getting discouraged. But I like the way you're doing it. And for a straight hour of talking about the same thing, and all your preparation with all your role playing you're doing daily, you've got your script mastered. You're prepared for any kind of objections that are going to come from the other end. What are some of the objections that you hear most often right now in this market?
Well, the biggest thing is we're about 2 weeks away from Christmas. Who wants to list their home right now at Christmas time?
Mhm,
And this is where the coaching comes in. People who have been through many seasons of real estate, they've heard those objections, and so people saying, who really wants to show their home right now? I have a lot of
Mhm.
guests that are coming in. Hey, I understand that. My last property, we got an offer and went under contract in under 5 days. So we can limit it based on you're in the driver's seat. So we can limit
Yeah,
your showings based on the schedule that's convenient for you and still get a full price offer. And so setting them at ease, letting them know that even though it's December and I still have people requesting to see other properties that I have on the market or are still going under contract is able to give them that kind of proof of concept to say,
mhm.
okay, I want to try that too. Or people who are relocating at this time, they're very serious because they have to start work January 1, which means they need to be in place either by leasing a property or purchasing a property. And your property is in great condition. So let's take advantage of some of those buyers who have no choice. So
Yeah.
those are ways that we have that conversation. And then of course, if a person insists, there are tons of things that we can do in the pre-listing phase, right?
Mhm.
I can come over, I can give you feedback, I can take photos, I can do coming soon. There are a number of things that we can do to give you a leg up before the inventory increases, right? Because
Yes, listen to you.
most most sellers are thinking, I'm going to wait until next year. So those are the ways that we work through that. And there are a number of things that through role play you just start to pick up on. But it's really less about trying to showcase yourself
Mhm.
and more about finding out what the person's desires and true needs are, right?
Yeah,
And how do you bring that out of the person and then give them the confidence that you can help them accomplish that goal?
and they trust you,
Right.
and they should, because you sound like you've really got it together. So I imagine when you go on your listing presentations that they go very well, is my guess. The people feel
They
comfortable with
they
you
can't
and sign on the line.
yeah, they can. So, but I no way want to make it seem like I'm just getting every appointment that I go on.
No one does.
Yeah.
No one does.
There are sometimes that I scratch my head, I say, "Okay, what happened?" And then I'll go back to my coach, and he will ask, "Did you isolate to find out what the true objection was?" Right? Did you find out whether the issue was the price? Did you find out whether it was you? Did you find out whether it was the process? No? Okay. Well, you left something on the table.
Yeah, didn't ask
Call
enough
him.
questions.
Yeah, call him back. And through those discoveries, I found out that sometimes it had nothing to do with me. Um, I have talked to clients, they were in the middle of a divorce, and I
Mhm.
did not pick up on that. I may have catered to one party over the other, which is a no-no, 'cause you're thinking, right, like naturally you would think, okay, this person is the decision maker. This is the person that I
Mhm.
have to win over, but you could be doing that completely, the wrong way.
Mhm.
So I've only been making calls like this since September, right? So there's
Mhm.
a lot that I'm learning. But what I'm most excited about is that I'm consistently being able to get appointments, and I am converting some of those appointments over to actual contracts,
Good,
right? And then
good.
converting some of those contracts into actual sales, closed sales. So I'm excited about that and pleased with the progress that I've made so far.
No, it sounds wonderful. So you mentioned in September. When did you start with the coach? In September as well?
I started with my coach in July. Now,
Okay.
here's the
So what
thing,
okay.
listen to your coach.
How long did your coach tell you to get espresso agent?
Day one.
What took you so long?
So I had already allocated my budget for the year,
Mhm,
and Espresso Agent was just not in it. So I was thinking I would continue my plan, and then as I get sales from this year, I
mhm.
would put it into my budget for next year. And then he said, "Look, can you afford to put aside this amount for a 90-day trial?" Yeah, of course. Then why are you thinking about it for a 12-month period? Just try it for 90 days and see if it makes sense. I promise you, if you put in the work, it will pay for itself.
So we're like at 90 days. Did we pass the test? Are you keeping us?
Oh, yeah, threefold.
Perfect. Perfect. Good.
Yeah.
I like it. I like it. So, what's your goal for next year? How many transactions are you trying to do? How many listings are you trying to get out of Espresso Agent?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So right now I am at 60 for where I want to be as far as 60 transaction residential and then 5 transactions commercial. Um,
Wow, that's awesome.
yeah, so my goal every week is to go on 4 appointments and to convert at 50%.
Yes.
So if I am doing that consistently, then I will be able to take those 5 listings, at least 5 closings. I'm thinking a month, right? Because some of those may take a little longer, and some
Mhm.
may have some more things that we need to do to actually get the property sold. But that by overshooting that, that should land me where I want to be as far as my goals.
Absolutely.
Um, so my first trial of that, which was October, I did take 5 listings.
Woohoo.
Gave
Congrats.
me thank you. I told you about being transparent. I did not do as well in November,
That's
but
okay.
that is where the ebbs and flows are. You know, you just kind of try to figure out where things go. And here's one of the things that where I picked up the script of the holiday, right? So if the
Mhm.
objection is, hey, I just want to wait until after the holiday, then now you need to practice different scripts. You need to add some more tools to your tool belt. So I'm excited about that. I have a few prospects before the next 2 weeks are out. So I'm
Mhm.
gonna try to close out maybe 2 more before we're celebrating Christmas.
Ooh, that's a goal. That's quick. But if not, you have January 1 to have new deals going too.
Yes, I did send out a purchase, well, not a purchase sale. I did send out a listing agreement yesterday, and then I have an appointment tomorrow. So I'm working hard to get there. Just
You're
say a
killing
prayer for me, Noel.
You're killing it. I love it. Thank you so much for coming on. Tell everybody how we can send you referrals to help you hit those goals. Give us your phone number and email address, your social media, whatever you're happy to share with.
Absolutely. So you can email me at hardmanandhomes@gmail.com. But I would just love for you to connect with me where it's comfortable for you.
Okay.
So I'm on most social media platforms as Norman Hardman. You can find me as an agent. You can see that I'm a real person, right? You can see my family and what I do as far as my regular life. There are a number of real estate professionals on an app called Clubhouse. So if you want to dialogue, if you want to role play, you can find me there. But just look me up, and I'll be glad to share with you some things that are working for me. I'll be glad to build a referral connection with you as well. I'm always looking for great top performing agents, and when I say top performing, doesn't mean that you have to sell the most. It's the attitude that you
Someone
bring
that
to
provides a
the table.
good service.
Exactly.
Yes.
I'm always looking for people to make those connections with. So I would love to connect with you and love to answer any questions and love to get to meet you.
Sounds wonderful. Well, I'm going to connect with you for sure because I'm in a Navy town too. So we're going to talk about that referral. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, Noel.